Alright, hey YouTube, Nate here. So, it's finally happened. The iPad 2 has officially been announced after rumor about what it'll look like, when it will be announced, if it's been delayed, etc., etc. So it turns out a lot of the rumors about the actual design were very accurate, and the designs that they showed are very similar to the new iPad. The new design is actually nothing too drastic. The main difference really is just the thinness. The new iPad is now 33% smaller, I believe. Let me just double check. Yep, 33%, and it's up to 15% lighter. I don't really know what up to means, why it's not just one number, but yeah, up to 15% lighter. Other than that, the two other major differences are the inclusion of a white model now, which they're going to have shipping the first day that the black one is available too, which is shocking because we still don't even have a white iPhone 4 available, so don't really know how that works out. And then the other major difference would be the inclusion of a front and back video camera, which we'll get to a little bit later about what uses can go in with that. Other than that, outside, other than the inclusion of a speaker on the back that's a little more obvious than the old model, really the only other redesign, if you want to call it, is on the inside. And what they have now is a dual-core A5 chip. So 2 cores are now on the iPad, which is sweet. Obviously, 1 core is pretty good for a tablet. I mean, you don't have to get too crazy, but 2 cores, awesome. I've read that it's capable of up to 1.2 gigahertz, but Apple's website only includes 1 gigahertz. So, not that that's a huge difference, but when it comes to tablet, that might make a little bit of a difference. Other than that, the only other big difference on the inside is now the battery life is up to 10 hours, which is really nice. 10 hours, obviously, if you're conserving battery a little bit, but that's still a really big number. Nice to see. So yeah, this is a really powerful machine and really nice looking one. The thinness and the form factor of it is just really nice, and I have to say the white one looks incredibly cool. I would honestly consider getting a white one, but it wouldn't match with all of my new Apple products. It would only match with my old MacBook, since Apple's kind of going for a new blackish aluminum look with everything now. But yeah, so the new white one is definitely really nice, and both of them are nice. It just looks a little nicer, a little thinner, just everything a little cleaner. So I'm actually really happy with the iPad, and I will have to say, if you go back a year, you'll hear me complaining about the iPad name, which a lot of people did, but now saying something like iTablet or iSlate just sounds ridiculous. I think everyone's got over the feminine hygiene joke. It's been overdone on so many TV shows and so many comedians, it's not even funny anymore. I think many people have just accepted that it's a good tech gadget. It's as simple as that. Along with the name, too, I'm also very excited that Apple didn't do anything like the iPad video, or, not that there ever was an iPod video, but that's a different topic. It's called the iPod 5th generation, which also Apple could have done the iPad 2nd generation, or the iPad smaller, or nano, or, you know, something crazy like that. I really like that it's just iPad 2. So yeah, that's really nice. It goes kind of along with the new iPhone 4. They didn't give it some new crazy name. It's simply just the 4th iPhone. So hopefully Apple keeps doing that. Obviously at a certain point, when we have the iPad 7, it's just kind of a little obnoxious. But for now, iPad 2 sounds just fine. So yeah, moving on. Let's go on to the new included software with the iPad. Most of this has to do with the 2 cameras. With the new 2 cameras now, obviously, the first major thing Apple added was FaceTime, which gives you the capability to have video conversations with either someone on an iOS device, this includes anyone else with another iPad, or anyone on an iPhone, or the newer generations of iPod Touches. Also, you can also do this with anyone on a Mac. So that's pretty cool. Do note, though, that this is on Wi-Fi, so if you are getting a 3G model of the iPad, this is still not capable of doing FaceTime on 3G connection. Along with that, Photo Booth is the other major one. For those of you who don't own a Mac, which I'm assuming a lot of you who watch my videos do, but if you don't own a Mac and you hear about this Photo Booth thing on the new iPad, simply what it does is takes a picture of you, but it's way cooler than that because you can do cool effects. Some of them just recolor you, but other ones do crazy stuff where it makes your face all warped and contorted, and it's hilarious. What's cool about this one, though, is on the iPad you can actually touch certain areas of the screen to manipulate certain parts of the effect. So yeah, it's a nice touch. Definitely a feature that just seems to work with the iPad. It's something that you would just think would be there. So that's cool. Of course, you got all of the included software that was on the old iPad, Mail, Safari, iBooks, etc., etc. But Apple also demonstrated in the keynote, which I forgot to mention at the beginning, the keynote was awesome because Steve Jobs was in attendance, so that was always nice to see. He did look a little skinnier, I think, but not majorly. You couldn't tell too much. But he's a pretty small guy as it is, and great to see him take the stage after all of the hype surrounding his medical leave and whether he was going to live for a certain amount of time or whatever. So it's nice to see him there. He got a lot of applause from what I heard, so that's great. Anyway, back to the point. Apple demonstrated some new software that they were adding onto the iPad available for download. This does, so you'll have to pay extra for this one, but that was iMovie and GarageBand, which GarageBand actually looks really cool because it has like all the finger instruments, drums and piano, and you can just make music just right on there. And I think that's pretty cool. Something that's kind of fun, but something that I don't really see any serious musician actually wanting to do on an iPad instead of a computer, because the iPad version obviously is limited in some respect, but you can plug in a guitar with it with a peripheral and play the guitar and record it. So in another sense, it's a nice way to just bring your own personal little traveling production studio. But iMovie looks really cool too. So you could just film all the video from the iPad's camera and then just edit it right on there. So that's kind of cool. Again, I personally would probably import it to a computer and you edit it there, but if you just want to edit the movie after you just shot it and make a few little cuts to it and save it, you know, that works great. I can't think of any practical uses that I'd ever make of it, but again, it is pretty cool. And yeah, so that's kind of the two applications that Apple announced with the iPad. Other than that, the keynote kind of just focused on how cool iPad is and how they're using it in business and in education and how they're using it in schools, how doctors are using it for patient stuff, and just all the cool uses people are making of the iPad. Other than that, they also introduced two new accessories. One of them is a HDMI output that plugs into the 32-pin connector and converts to an HDMI and another 32-pin connector, so you can still have it plugged in for HDMI output. Really cool, so you can stream video, or not stream, but take videos from your iPad and display them onto an HDMI device, which is most likely a television. Along with that, though, I did read a few places that people were saying that this might also work the other way around, where you can record the iPad screen through this. I don't know exactly how that would work, but that would be really cool for HD application reviews on the iPad. Because I actually just recently discovered that you can't really record iPhone video without jailbreaking it or anything, so that kind of stung, because I'm working on a project where I need to film the iPhone screen. But yeah, so that'll be really cool. And the second one is something that I thought was just stupid when I first saw it, but I will admit the reason I thought it was stupid was just because of the color they chose as their main one, which is like a baby blue. But Apple introduced this new iPad smart cover, and it's actually kind of nifty. Like, at first I thought it was dumb because it doesn't really work as a case, it's just a cover. But when you think about it, you only really want to protect the screen in a lot of cases, because you just want to protect it if you're going to be putting it in bags. You don't want it to get all scratched up. And most of the iPad cases don't really protect it all that well from drops and stuff. I haven't seen that many super durable iPad cases. So this actually does its job, and what it does is just magnetically attaches to the sides, so that's really cool. And then it just folds up, so when you fold it, you can just fold it around the screen, obviously, and just have it on the other side. But you can also fold it up to make a stand, and you can use it as a stand horizontally or vertically. And also what's really cool about it is it works so that when you take it off, it automatically unlocks the screen, and when you put it back on, it locks the screen again. So that's pretty awesome. Like I said, it comes in a handful of colors, all really colorful. They have the brighter colors, which are polyurethane, and then some darker colors, which are leather, and the leather is going to be a little spendier, but obviously a little nicer. So yeah, that's this smart cover. I actually think this is ridiculously cool. If I get an iPad 2, which probably won't happen, if I ever have enough money for an iPad, it'll be down the line, a few years from now, when I'll probably get an iPad 4 or 5 by then. But if they still have this iPad smart cover, I definitely would probably get it, because I think it's actually really cool. So yeah, that about sums up the iPad cover, and really the iPad 2 itself. Like I said, there isn't major changes, but the changes they do included is just enough, because you don't want to overdo it at this point. The iPad is still new. It's just right. I still would like to see a more overhauled OS in the future, something that's more advanced than the iPhone. It's obviously starting to get that with some of the apps, and it's obviously more powerful, but I think there's still a lot of potential that the iPad has that it's not being used. So that's about it with the iPad. For the rest of the conference keynote, they talked about the new iOS 4.3 that's coming up, which doesn't affect me because I'm running iOS 4.5 already because I'm running a CDMA iPhone. But the new iOS 4.3 does add on the new personal hotspot to the AT&T iPhone now. So for those of you on AT&T who are waiting for that, there's your time now. Other than that, just some small changes, enhanced Safari performance, iTunes home sharing, AirPlay enhancements, and that's about it. So yeah, that about sums up the iPad 2 and overall the keynote in general. Overall, I'm really proud of Apple on this one. I think the iPad 2 is definitely a big step in the right direction, but I'd still like to see, like I said, an overhauled OS. And honestly, if I owned an iPad, I would see no reason to sell it and get an iPad 2. No offense to David, the creative one, because he already started selling his iPad. But yeah, I mean, the 2 cameras and faster speeds, I mean, do you really want to pay $200 to get that? Because if you sell it, you'll probably get like $300 for it, so you'll have to get $200 more. Yeah, so I don't think it's a huge enough difference, but like I said, it's still a really nice device. It's thinner, the cameras are great, faster. Overall, props to Apple, step in the right direction, can only go up from here. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out themediastomp.com. That about sums up the video. Thanks for watching.